Welcome to It's Like That Madison, episode 11. I'm one of your hosts, Janae Wood from Start Company Realtors.
I'm Katie Kolakowski with City RE.
Tiffany Tobias, Start Company Realtors.
And today we're going to talk about what realtors actually do for buyers. But I want to just first bring up a market fact about buyers and working with agents. Mm-hmm. It's a quick one. Just how many buyers are using realtors? And in 2025, it was 88% of buyers were using realtors to find their home.
Yeah, that was a statistic from the National Association of Realtors. So
yeah, I think that's a good one. And I think it shows that when you're in a competing market like we are now, spring, agents to agents and different agent strategies and picking your agent is ever important.
Yeah.
I think it was interesting because I was telling the ladies the other day that I was at a medical appointment, and we often hear out in the world, like, do we even need a realtor anymore? Or like, can I just find my homes online? Like, what do you even do? And I was getting a test done, and the person asked me, what do you do for a living? And I was like, I'm a realtor. And he said, oh, that is the easiest job in the world. You just open doors. And to which I said, I honestly think it's the hardest job I've ever done. And I feel that because we don't just open doors, especially the three of us are consistently behind the scenes building strategies. And that's kind of what we wanted to touch base on today. Like that kind of starts even before people see a house and they might not realize that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gathering all the data in advance. And I think we don't want everyone to see what we're doing. We want it to seem seamless and like we've just got all the knowledge. But yes, behind the scenes, it takes a while to gather all that. Tax records, licensing and permits, comps, actives, all of that starts before we even leave the house, to go to the showing.
Yeah, and I think like with buyer consultations or like explaining buyer agencies or letting people know their rights or regulations, like connecting them with lenders. Like, what do you kind of do behind the scenes before people even get going?
Well, we talked a little bit about our consultation strategy, right? I think in one of our previous episodes.
Episode 8.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I think that's a big part of it. It's figuring out what are they looking for and how are we best going to help them. But you're right, getting them prepared, like you said, getting them in touch with the lender, all those things that we kind of did. But I think that's a huge part is even before you open the door, right? Yeah. Is to make sure that they're prepared and that they have an idea of what they're getting into.
Yeah. And I think like Janae said, bringing that data forward and setting expectations in the market.
Yes. And that's a good point, Tiffany, because I think a lot of people just with Zillow and Realtor.com, it's really easy to think you're in charge of your search. You're going to find your home. But there's things you have to do before you even get into that home because what if it is your home and you haven't even talked to a lender? You might not be able to make an offer. So an agent is really good for setting the stage for being ready.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely setting expectations for the Madison market, looking at what we're seeing for list price, over list price, what are the trends we're seeing for offers, successful offers. We keep all that data as well.
Well, and I think to your point, the Madison market, right? Because we are here local, whether it's Madison, Dane County, the surrounding area, we have the ability to really see those past, properties and did they get multiple offers and, did they go over in price so that we can prepare our buyers if there's a specific neighborhood that they're looking in that they know what they're up against, especially in a spring market like we're in right now.
Yeah, I think it's really fun to go in a home and be like, oh, I've been in that neighbor's home, or like you physically have been also in other homes in that neighborhood. Or this last weekend we wrote an offer too, and I could say, oh, I sold a home around the corner, so I am well versed in this neighborhood, or I know the trends that are going on here. And so, yeah, just kind of filtering through that data. Or I was also telling you too about just being in a home and asking the right questions so that when we're out and about, we also too have our eyes peeled.
Yes. Yeah.
For all our people.
Yeah.
Just are these homes a fit? Trying to be that home matchmaker.
Yeah. So finding the right home. I've got a client now actually that we're just trying to get into homes. If it's been that long since buying a home, let's just get our feet into a home because some I think will look at the features and the numbers and get a little too analytical, when a lot of times you just have to actually step into the place to know, how does this layout feel? Is 2,000 square feet too big, too small? Let's just go see some, even if you're not excited about it, so I can see how you're reacting. I'm going to watch their faces as they're going through the home, so when they light up or not, give them permission, let's leave. This isn't working for you. But it's part of my homework too, is just to see how they interact with various houses.
Yeah.
Well, and looking at houses, and I know we've mentioned this before, but I believe so strongly in this, is that, looking at houses and realizing that you hate it is actually, hate's a strong word, but like that you really dislike it. We dislike like you said, the layout, you dislike things about it, is actually so beneficial for us, because it helps guide us, when we're looking at those future homes and when we're sending things over that might be a match.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a great experience to say, hey, I don't like it. That's okay.
Yeah, and a lot of times we're navigating thoughts, feelings, and emotions in the house. We're navigating conversations. We're navigating and evoking feelings, or bringing people together or on the same page. And that takes a special little skill set as well, just to navigate some of those stressors.
Well, and I think it's important to note too how we help find a home, right? So it's not just what's popping up on
Online.
Zillow.
Yeah.
It might be what we know is coming soon, contact with other agents, or clients that live in a particular neighborhood that give you a heads up on a house. Anything else that I'm missing on that you guys
No, I
do?
think that's a big one, is just knowing things that are behind the scene that we know are going to be coming up. And I think we all have that, right? I mean, we all have that, those relationships where we're like, hey, or somebody says, hey, I saw your listing, I'm going to have another one coming up, so that we're able to share that knowledge and get our buyers prepared for it is so helpful.
I agree. And also just, behind the scenes conversations, just constantly being on the lookout. And also too, I think a big thing that people don't realize, or what we all try to do at this table also, is when you're going through a home, we don't just open the door. We're looking for things that potentially might be a flag about the home, or, hey, did you see this? Or point out these things to make sure that our buyer is okay with the things that we're also seeing. So we're looking for those defects like we've talked about in the past on other episodes as well. We're looking at, maybe we're not inspectors once again, but what might be flagged on inspection, and just kind of educating people about things that we've seen come up and or things that may come up in the future.
Yeah, and I think too, I mean, I know for myself, and you guys probably are a similar situation, if you know somebody's using a specific type of loan, right? So for myself, if I know somebody's going to have a VA loan, I like that ability to be able to say to them, hey, this is a great house, but just so you know, here's maybe a few things that might have to be fixed ahead of time before you close, or that might show up, during the appraisal, so that they're aware too that there might be a few additional things that we need to do. It's not that it's not going to work, and sometimes it doesn't work, but walking through it gives it that opportunity to see more.
And just say a bit more about that, because with VA or FHA, there's
even
an extra requirement with appraisal?
I mean, I know specifically, a lot of things that we see come up are, if there's peeling paint, right? Like, so there's peeling paint, like on a window, or there's not railings around the deck, or there's not railings going up and down the stairs. They're like some minor things, but
smoke detectors, carbon monoxide,
railings, things like that, where your buyer might not care, but the loan, officer is going to care, and certainly underwriting is going to care. So I actually had this happen this last year. We had my buyer was using a VA loan, and the seller accepted the offer knowing that. And we had told him up front, we said, listen, there's a few things that are going to need to be done on this house in order before the appraisal, so that we can make sure that it goes, straight through. And it was the coolest story, because I connected the buyer and the seller, and they worked on the projects together. So they put the railing up around the deck outside, painted. Yeah, they did a few of the things and got the railing on the stairs. And so obviously it passed with flying colors. But had we not known that, it would have extended our closing, right? It would have pushed us back, or it would have seemed like a massive red flag all of a sudden, where we saw that in our walkthrough. So we wrote our offer knowing, hey, there's going to be some things we're going to need to do, and how are we going to get this done ahead of time?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And another thing that kind of slides in there too is down payment assistance also has some of those back ends as well. And so just working with same situation, working with the agent across the aisle to cordially get it done, where I buy the smoke alarms, they might throw one in, so just navigating those situations and making it a lot easier, I think is great.
And that goes just back to filtering for one last thing. What we're doing behind the scenes that a buyer wouldn't even know, because that information about what's going to be needed for that loan or down payment assistance, or if I'm working in condos, if one's unwarrantable and they can't get conventional financing, that can really change the picture. And so we're going to know that when we're thinking about what properties to send you as your realtor. Not waste your time or guide you.
Guide you where to go.
Well, and the other thing is, I think you guys get this question a lot, is if I purchase this house, what am I going to have to do if I decide I have to sell it in 2 years or 4 years? Or, I find that I'm doing that more and more often, which I'm sure you are too, where it's just like people want to know, like, am I going to be able to get my money out of it if I do X or if I do these things?
I look at, when we're on showings, I'm looking at it from terms of resale value. Because layout can impact it, where it's located on the street. All of that.
That functionality. If you see this a lot in older homes, they might have sitting rooms, but people want to use it for TV, and so it's like getting creative with your buyers and having them envision them in their space.
Yes, the TV.
Yeah,
always always the TV.
My world too.
Square rooms, not square rooms. Yes,
or multiple doors, like 4 doors.
Spend a lot of time.
That's all important. And I think that resale, like you all are talking about, comes down to when you're writing that offer also. So
absolutely.
Those discussions, because I know that I always prep my buyers. This could be your forever home if you want it to be. However, if life happens and you have to sell it in 2 years, what does that look like? Would you be underwater? What would we need to do? We need to have those discussions up front also too, just because personally I've been in a scenario where I purchased and then a year and a half later something happened where I had to move because life happened.
Right.
And I know that we don't want our people, unless they choose to be in a position where they could be losing money on something that's supposed to be an asset.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can advise they make the decision. But that's all part of it.
No, 100%. Yeah.
So obviously writing an offer, in a little bit more in depth, like one of the things that I know that most people think is that it's always price. And that is our job, right? To go in, like you said, but it's not always price. And so when you talk about the behind the scenes, it's us digging in a little bit more to find out what's important to the seller. And we have the ability to do that, which is awesome for the buyer because it gives us an idea to write the most creative and best offer that we can.
Yeah, or well-rounded. A lot of times I've been successful and feedback is you weren't the highest, but you were the most well-rounded. And that's a strategy I really like because it makes the buyer feel comfortable with what they're doing. And then the seller feels confident that that offer is going to get to closing. And I think that's really important. And that starts with picking up the phone and calling the other agent a lot of times. So we do that too.
Yes, definitely. Make a phone call.
Yeah.
I get offers that I've never heard from the agent before, and I'm always surprised. And it doesn't win, because they haven't checked to see what is going to be most important. Closing date, is that the most important thing to a seller? They might not put that out there, and then all of a sudden it is.
I laugh so much when you say make the phone call because we understand that. And I'm not saying that not most people don't, because a lot of people do pick up the phone. But it's like, it's like all the things outside of real estate that annoy you when you can't talk to somebody. It's the same thing for us and for everything else. And you wonder why an offer doesn't get accepted, or you wonder these things. And it's like, it took 5 seconds to pick up the phone call. Like when you say that, it sounds so simple, but people don't do it.
Right. And just think of a buyer without a realtor. They go through a house during an open house. They might have a bunch of questions. Who's going to answer those questions for them, right? Like, we are always trying to gather that information to help with the offer writing. What's the age of the mechanicals, the age of the roof? That's all going to go into writing the offer too. And thinking about the inspection contingency or buffer if we're including one.
Yeah, I agree. And I had a weird scenario where the pain point. We would never have known it wasn't in the broker notes, which is another thing that we look at before writing an offer. We have notes behind the scenes that are not available to the general public that we always look at. They needed their chickens rehomed, and that was a big stress to have the chickens stay on the property after closing while they rehomed them. So we were able to write that in our offer to babysit some chickens, and not if you didn't pick up the phone and ask what might be a pain point for the seller that we might be missing, we wouldn't get that information.
Yeah, that's a really great point.
Yeah.
Not many people are going to be willing to babysit chickens probably, but good on your clients for being willing to do so.
I wouldn't know what to do. I'd feel I'd be so nervous.
Do they just stay there and someone comes in and feeds them? Because then that would be okay.
I babysat chickens one time. I'll have to put that video up. I got a rooster pecking at me while trying to feed them, and it would take a special little talent for me to continue to be a chicken babysitter. I tried it one time.
So structuring the competitive offer, that goes right into it.
Yeah, the negotiations, the price terms. What else?
Buffers, buffers, appraisal contingency buffers. If you're writing over, but you include a full appraisal contingency, it's probably not going to be considered a strong offer, right? So it's explaining to your client why that might put you towards the bottom of the pack if you're in a competing situation.
And I think the thing is that like all of these things that we're saying, the point is that you want somebody who does this every day.
Right. Right.
Like, because there's things that we're talking about, people are like, what are they talking about right now?
Over.
Yeah. And that's the whole idea, is that you want somebody who does this every day so that they can explain to you what this means and structure it for you.
I always say that too to my people, that I don't walk into their professions and know how to do them. So I don't expect them to walk in here and know how to do them, because we do it every day. We see the nuances, we see the trends, we have the conversations behind the scenes. And that's what makes us the trusted professional. If we're walking into a doctor, we want to make sure that the doctor is probably practicing every day, not once every 5 to 10 years, and is up to date on the latest and greatest. Or, librarian, what books have you gotten recently in the library? Or, every job is important as long as it's a legal job. But the point is that everybody has a job for a reason, and this is ours.
And I don't think ChatGPT can explain all of this to you. There are nuances. You're going to find some things explained to you with AI, but you are not going to get all the nuances that we can, as realtors, give to our buyers. Even just one of those things with knowing what activity is on the house. How many showings have you had? What's the interest? All of that also plays into how you write your offer. AI is not going to do that for you.
No, the quickness, the fluidity of it, like you're saying, the human-to-human relationships, the picking up the phone. Another time, they were like, "Thank you for your great communication. We want to work with you." So it's like those personal touches are still really important.
And that's just to get the house. So then you get an AO, an accepted offer.
This is where most deals fall apart, is inspection or appraisal or financing. So once the offer is accepted, that's just the beginning, right?
It is. Yeah, that's where the chaos comes, if it's going to come.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like,
we've all been there.
I don't think it's amazing though when you're working with two agents that do this every single day, right? On both sides of the aisle. How many times that you can work through any sort of chaos, right? So it's creating that relationship with the lender. It's creating that relationship with the other agent, because there's items that we've talked about before. They're going to come up on inspection, but rarely is there a solution. And I think that's the job, is to create our job,
rarely
like you said,
a solution.
Rarely is there not a solution. And so I think, like you said before, a lot of it is that behind the scenes work that we're trying to get done to make it seem like it's not chaotic if it is, right? To make it seem like it's going smooth. But, keeping track of the deadlines, all those types of things.
Sending out, timelines, keeping track of the deadlines, keeping everybody on task. We're like the quarterback trying to get to the end zone, with the end zone, the touchdown being you got your home. And so inspector,
title company, closing officer, listing agent. You got like this, everybody that we're trying to, micromanage everything
get
for
that
our buyer.
ball down the field. I feel like the client's the coach telling us what they want, and then
I like that. The
play
clients,
happen on the field. But yeah, it's we're getting tackled sometimes. Sometimes there's flags on the play. Sometimes there's stuff we have to navigate to make that happen. But yeah, problem solving consistently, looking at what's in front of us, adapting quickly on the fly.
Knowing vendors if we have to try to solve something on inspection. We talked about that in the episode about the good, the bad, and the ugly inspections. So we don't have to go into it, but just knowing that we also have that information.
Yeah, have that info.
Help.
Yeah.
And preparing our people for the contingencies they're writing, making sure they know what it means so there isn't a hiccup in the middle of the transaction.
I think also too, this is where a lot of people panic. And so many times in my transactions, I'll bring a problem or something that's come up, and I can just see my buyer being like, and I'll be like, I promise this is not where we panic. I promise I will tell you when it's time to panic, because we do this every day. So we see and know how to navigate. We know all the tools in our tool belt, but a lot of times something that seems panic worthy is something that we're able to do and navigate. Yeah. And still get to the closing line.
Yep. Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of touched on that. The other things we're doing, we're coordinating the inspection, working with lenders. Yep. Deadlines.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's closing. Table.
Yes. Obviously, you guys spend time looking through all the final numbers, making sure that they're right, and obviously the lender should be doing that as well with the buyer. But I think that's a big part of it, making sure that everything's on there that we talked about.
Yeah. And it's often not. The proration of things might be not correct.
Yeah.
There'll be things that we have to keep a lookout for.
Yeah. Communicating with title.
Setting up utilities.
Yes.
Right? It's not just MG&E or your trash recycling. You might have to set up separately. We need to know that before going in.
Yeah. Just monitoring and looking at the back end, looking at the title commitments, and if the buyer has any questions, being the liaison to open that door and connect them with who to ask their questions to over at title. And so, there's just a lot of know-how and navigating on that back end too.
And then knowing when they close that, we're still there as a resource. Like, I think that's huge.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Follow up, see what they did with the house.
Yeah.
And if they have a problem, we usually are the first one that they
which
they
I'm
call.
happy about. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, also because they get so connected with everybody along the journey, because you are talking to them and guiding them, and they are trusting you, and there are so many pieces to navigate that you get quite attached to each other. So I like not saying goodbye.
I know. So I had a walkthrough last night on a property, and it was so cool. Well, we didn't think we were going to meet the seller because we had changed our closing date, and so the seller had already pre-signed. Well, he ended up having to come back through last night, so the buyer and the seller got to meet, which I like. In the situation that we were in, it was really happy. And the gentleman, the seller had left this amazing list of like every single paint color, and then he drew a schematic of the house and said, this room, like almost like the layout, and said, this room has this one, RS, here's the name of it, left everything in order. I mean, it was just so great. So the whole experience was the whole experience together. We had a couple hiccups, and it ended up being just fantastic at the end. But we were at our closing this morning, actually. And my buyer said, can I give you a hug? And I said, well, I was going to ask you, but I wasn't sure. But, we were to that point. And that was the one thing that I said when we were left, like, this isn't it. Like, we spent a lot of time together. Like, let's keep in touch as much as we can. But I want to hear how it's going, when you move in a couple weeks. So
I love watching families grow, evolve, shape, shift.
Yeah.
New wallpaper go up, cats and dogs in their new spots.
Yeah.
It's just really
all the fun stuff.
Everything they envisioned, you get to see come to life.
Yeah. No, it's super important.
And then the one thing we didn't mention, and I think we all do this, is we all become somewhat of a counselor during the process.
Oh. Yeah. That's what I was saying, is like those therapeutic conversations.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that should be a part of the title sometimes.
Mm-hmm. It technically is for me, but
that
that's background true. Absolutely comes in
handy. Yeah.
And sometimes you're mediating between the two buyers, right? Because couples don't always have they don't want the same things. And so you're trying to navigate that as well.
Yeah. And the reason I brought it up again was because we're okay with it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, it helps guide through the process. And so having that extra person to bounce things off of, or to feel that panic about, like you mentioned, or to be excited with and everything else. I love that part of it.
I always think it's funny when one buyer tells me something and then the other one's like, oh, you had a chance to tell her and talk to her. Well, don't tell her your side, you know, because then they want to tell me like their side of what it is they're wanting to do. And it's like, I'm here for both of you.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Or even the kiddos. Like recently I've had kids try to adjust when moving, and they'll tell me straight up how they feel. And whether you're 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, I'm open to having that discussion too. And it was really fun for me working with this latest family, because the kids would get really excited when they saw me, but then they realized they were moving. So then they were trying to be like, we really like Katie, but we don't want to move. So it was like you could see those feelings in real time and help them navigate that too. And, you know, be the first one to greet them and high five them when they go into their new house too. So they know that it's a safe space as well. But
yeah. And I always say it's always about more than the house for buyers, and it's about more than paperwork for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we don't just help people find houses. We definitely want to protect them, make sure they're happy where they live. And I think that that's what we're saying as well. So not just finding, it's protecting, being a friend and an advocate, as well as really going to bat for our people too.
Yeah. I think that's a good sign.
I agree. I think that's a good ending.
Yeah. I think it's a good ending too.
And should we tease about episode 12, which
Yeah.
is going to be on investment properties?
Yes.
Coming up next month.
Special guests, and it'll be a good one.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
Thank you.